Hello, my name is Lisa and today I will tell you a little bit about how to recycle in Plymouth. It is quite simple compared to other councils because we only have two bins. We have a brown one for things that can't be recycled and a green one that can be recycled from home. So I would like to start with the easiest ones, paper and card. Pretty much everything that's made out of paper can go into a recycling bin. It doesn't matter if it's dirty, it doesn't matter if it's gotten wet, it doesn't matter if it has sticky tape on it, glue or something like that. They can all go into recycling to be processed and reused. It's very important to do that is because by using paper and card again and again, we reduce the amount of forest we use and the amount of soil erosion that's produced by farming forest as well. The only thing that I found difficult is to understand what cartons I can recycle, because Tetra Pak is not currently recycled in Plymouth. So I have two cartons here. They're both Bejgarn, but this one is perfectly fine to put in a recycling bin, whereas this one I can't put in a recycling bin because it's a Tetra Pak. The one way I can find out that it's a Tetra Pak by looking at the pack is there is a triangle on the side that says Tetra Pak. So this one can go in a recycling bin as long as I take the lid off, whereas this one I can't recycle, so I have to throw it in a brown bin. We can recycle a lot of our glass and a lot of our metal from home. So tin cans, doesn't matter if it's food for humans or food for cats, toss it into the recycling. Foil that's used in the kitchen also goes into recycling. The glass, on the other hand, we can put the glass jars and bottles, it doesn't matter what colour they are, they can all go into recycling. However, the only things that we can't put in is glass from a window, so that has to be taken to recycling centre. A glass from a kitchenware, so glass that we drink out of, we can't put in the recycling bin, and spectacles as well. That has to be in the brown bin, unfortunately. And another item that can't be recycled from home is energy-saving light bulbs. But with metal, the only exclusion is batteries. The reason why batteries and energy-saving light bulbs can't be recycled is because they have chemical elements in them that can be toxic if they're landfilled. So therefore, you're very kindly asked to take them to producer. So that can be Argus, that can be supermarket. They will all happily take them from your hands and recycle them. It's very dangerous if you do throw them in the brown bin and nobody notices, then it will get landfilled and the toxic element will come out and leach through the soil and possibly contaminate land and water. So we don't really want that because landfills are actually in our local area. The reason why we need to recycle metal and glass is that 100% of it is recyclable and it saves a lot of minerals. Minerals comes from a hole in the ground, so therefore everything that you use, like a jar or something like that, if it's not reused, then there's going to be more minerals that need to be taken out. So to make sure that we are secure for the future, we need to recycle them to minimize the amount of raw materials that we use. Food waste is not recycled in Plymouth at the moment, but if you have a compost in the back garden, it's perfectly fine to go in there. So please recycle if you can. Another difficult one to recycle is clothes. First of all, when I clear out my wardrobe, I find it very difficult to know whether a charity shop will want it or not, because some of them, they have signs of wear, so therefore I tend to choose the best clothing for the charity shop and then take the rest of it for recycling. If I am pressed for time, then I'll just deposit it in the Marks and Spencer's on the first floor, and they are kindly offering to recycle it for you if it's not good enough for a charity, or any good clothing they're promised to donate to charities, which is an easy way to get rid of it. In a brown bin, again, if you put it in the brown bin, it just becomes waste in a landfill, whereas if it's recycled, it can have a new lease of life as a filling or insulation material, so it becomes useful. There are multiple closed banks around the city, and the locations you can find on a map provided by Plymouth City Council on their website. Plastic, the amount of plastic we use, we really need to make sure that we recycle it, and the easiest items and most common items are actually recyclable. So any food trays, any butter and margarine containers, cosmetic bottles, detergent bottles, pretty much everything you find around the house is recyclable. Egg boxes, drink bottles, fruit punnets, all of it can go into recycling bin. The only thing is that if you have a bottle, you need to remove the top, because otherwise it's a bit of a nuisance, because they'll have to in the recycling plant, they'll either have to remove the bottle top for you or just dispose of it and then fill the entire bottle. Number of plastic items that are not accepted for recycling. There are nappies, sweet wrappers, crisp packets, plastic pots from plants, polystyrene and polythene, plastic bags as well on that list, but we can still recycle them by taking them to the supermarket. Most of the supermarkets now have a box where you can put your used plastic bags if they can no longer be reused, and that goes for any pre-wrapped item plastic bags as well. So for example, fruit, a lot of the fruit come in a box with plastic all over it. That can also be recycled together with the bags. Toys is another quite common item that is kind of in between. It's confusing of where you're supposed to put this. It's plastic, so you want to put it in a recycling bin, but at the same time it can be mixed materials, so therefore maybe we should put it in the brown bin. There is no one answer. If the toy does have a little triangle recycling label on it, then put it in recycling. If, for example, it has some sort of material like wires inside, then try to take them out and put them in the put it in the recycling bin. If, however, the toy is quite in a good condition, you can donate it to school, to a church group, to another child, and it can be reused again. And that way we would reduce the amount of landfill that we have. And everything that's made out of plastic has to be recycled. This is very important because, like paper, metal, plastic is a very alien material to the life on Earth. It comes from deep within the ground and is a byproduct of oil production. So if it's not recycled, plastic is landfilled, or if it's a litter plastic, it usually ends up in the sea. The major problem with that is that as plastic gets into the environment, it does not biodegrade, so instead it just sits there for years and years. With time, plastic is weathered, so it becomes smaller and smaller pieces until it becomes so tiny that we can hardly see it. These tiny pieces of plastic are called microplastics. If you go to the front, to the Hoe, and you look at the shoreline, you are sure to spot some little tiny pieces of plastic floating around. The problem with that is that plastic is made using an array of different chemicals, and as that gets in the water, they can leach those chemicals out. And at the same time, the little pieces of plastic act as little magnets for contaminants, such as lead or mercury. Every animal on land and in the sea is threatened by the plastic pollution. The animals at the bottom of the food chain, such as plankton, can ingest the little tiny bits of plastic that's floating in the sea, together with the pollutant that little plastic has accumulated over time. What happens is that the bigger fish comes along and eats that plankton, and then the even bigger fish comes along and eats the fish that ate the plankton. And as it goes up the food chain, the pollutants biomultiply. So So the most threatened species is at the top of the food chain, and that's us. But the good news is that the solution is fairly pain-free. All we have to do is reduce the amount of plastic that we use, if possible, and recycle everything that we do use. Easy as that. So thank you for listening, and let's keep Plymouth green.